Welcome back, everybody. This is episode 23 of my multi-cloud network architecture series. And in this episode, I have my camera on. Why do I have my camera on? Well, I've invited Mark Noorman, who's a solutions architect from CloudNation. CloudNation is one of our premier partners in the Netherlands. And he's here to talk to us about a white paper he's been working on, a design that he's been working on with his customers around multi-cloud network access. He wants to share with us. Thank you so much, Mark, for being with us today.
Thank you very much for inviting me. I'm really excited, and let's have a good talk about some network and cloud designs.
Yeah, let's get started. Mark, tell me a little bit about yourself and about CloudNation.
Of course, Dana. I'm a solution architect at CloudNation. I have a networking background, a lot of traditional networking projects in the past, and for the last couple of years, I've been focusing on public cloud solutions and migrations. I work at CloudNation, which is a 100% public cloud professional services company, and we're based in the Netherlands. It's like Aviatrix, we are a CSP independent, and we are one of the founding partners of Aviatrix over here, which we're very proud of. Within CloudNation, we have a cloud competence center with several specialties, and we also offer some managed services. For example, a cloud landing zone as a service, managed cloud networking, and managed Kubernetes. And what we're really trying to focus on is helping our customers to accelerate. When you look at cloud adoption by customers, this is a diagram that really shows the progress. When you look at adopting a public cloud environment, it will take time for the customer to get to know the services, get their people to gain knowledge before they really start seeing that the public cloud will help their innovation and really add something to this. And what we really try to do, and we've been quite successful at it, is to really make that line move to the left by, for example, helping them deploy a landing zone so they don't have to figure it out at all by themselves, or to offer some managed services so they can take that as a, like I said, as a managed services and don't need to figure all it out by themselves.
Yeah, this is great, Mark. We love having you guys as a partner out there. I just want to know, where do you feel Aviatrix fits into this diagram?
To be honest, I think it will fit anywhere. For a large enterprise, for example, that is really moving forward to go into public cloud, it can really be a great advantage to make a good public cloud architecture upfront, to think how all the integration will be taking place. And when you have it has quite a large and complex environment within public cloud, deploying some Aviatrix solutions can really help in managing it and creating more visibility and also adding a layer of security.
Exactly, Mark. What I love about Aviatrix is that the solution is so universal that it can be leveraged at the beginning of an organization's cloud journey, partway through, or if that organization is a mature cloud user, Aviatrix's platform is leveraged and valuable across all of that, right? There's so many components of the platform that can be used to meet requirements, whether they're simple or complex requirements. So I love working with organizations like CloudNation that's seeing all of the different challenges in the cloud and leveraging Aviatrix to solve them. And I know you've been working on something new. You sent me a white paper and I loved it, and that's why we have this video together today. And I want to know more about this multi-cloud network access failover white paper that you've been working on. Can you start with that?
Yeah, sure. To be honest, I was inspired during an ACE associate training I was following at the beginning of this year. During those trainings or webinar I'm following, I'm always keeping one question in the back of my mind: how can this help one of our customers? It's nice to have a beautiful technical solution, but if it doesn't help a customer that has an actual challenge or a problem, then it's not going to be of any real importance.
Right.
And I've worked with quite a couple of customers in the Netherlands that have AWS and Azure or Google Clouds, and they use Direct Connect and Express Route next to each other. And looking at the multi-cloud network architecture that was presented in the ACE training, the added value of the transit layer with gateways deployed into them, it really struck a nerve. it really got my interest. So I started thinking about it. How can that transit layer also leverage the direct connect and express route access? This is a diagram I created for the white paper, and I think it shows quite a familiar architecture for a lot of companies that have multi-cloud deployments. On the left, you see a couple of AWS accounts with VPCs in them with, well, often business critical workloads. And on the right, we see Azure VNets with a similar setup. And in the center at the bottom, a data center, which is quite often still used as a networking hub.
Right.
With, in this case, some physical routers and a head office attached to the data center. And, well, what if a company, companies often need low latency and high bandwidth access to the public cloud, so they use Direct Connect and Express Route, because up to now you couldn't combine them in one.
Yep.
And if there are really some business critical workloads in them, they often use multiple direct connects and multiple express routes.
Yeah, Mark, absolutely. Just like CloudNation, Aviatrix sees hundreds of customers every quarter, every week, and we see some iteration or some version of this architecture. So it's definitely pretty common.
And something that stands out immediately is that the architectures are different. On the left in AWS, you see the AWS Transit Gateway that is needed to connect several accounts. You need a Direct Connect gateway to attach your Direct Connects and public and private FIPS. And on the right in Azure, you need a Hub VNet with an Express Route gateway and Microsoft and private peering. So they're not similar. They look similar, but they're not different, and that's why it's quite difficult to interconnect them as well. Yeah, the solution I was thinking of was deploying a transit VPC in AWS and deploying Aviatrix gateways in there, and do the same in Azure in a transit VNet, and interconnect those gateways through active mesh peering. That way they have routes to each other, they're interconnected, and by the way, it's also encrypted. And traffic going from one cloud to the other cloud doesn't need to pass our data center routers anymore. The great advantage of this setup is actually that the data center routers receive some additional routes through BGP. What happens then is that you get a really interesting failover scenario. Let's say we look at the transit gateway in Azure again. It has a BGP connection to the data center router, and it's broadcasting its own Azure networks, of course. But because of the direct connection to AWS, it's also broadcasting the AWS networks. Of course, with a lower priority, but it's still broadcasting those networks. So the data center routers now have multiple paths to the cloud networks. And well, that creates a really nice failover scenario, which we can have a look at in one of the next slides.
Okay, so just so that I'm clear, Mark, the Aviatrix Transit architecture is building active mesh between each other, and that's the cloud routing that we do with our controller. But you're also saying that the transit gateways are building BGP connections on top of the express route and the direct connects to the on-prem. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's exactly what I mean. The direct connect and the express route can be just the physical connection and one virtual interface and peering to the cloud environment, and over that we can just talk BGP between the data center routers and the transit gateways.
Okay. Got it. That's perfect. Yeah, I see a lot of benefit with this, because when you start to leverage this overlay architecture, you get all the benefits of traffic engineering that Aviatrix is able to inject into the cloud that you don't have natively with any of the native tools, with any of these CSPs. So you can do things like AS path prepending and carrying the AS path across the different regions and different clouds, so you retain that visibility and that control. So I definitely see some benefit there. One thing I wanted to mention, that you could also replace that AWS Transit Gateway with full-blown Aviatrix Transit infrastructure. And why you do that? Well, you get a lot of enterprise class functionality, right? You get additional routing, you get the full encryption end-to-end, you get high throughput, you get all the orchestration automation built into the solution, and most importantly, you get unparalleled visibility that you just don't have with any other solution, and that's called Copilot. And I have another video or several other videos on my channel that you guys should come and watch about Copilot. I'm sure Mark knows about Copilot, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's a really, really useful tool. Like I said, I come from a traditional networking world, and tools like those were just common and quite necessary in those days. But it's really, really cool. We have something similar now for our public cloud. One additional point I'd like to add is that setting up the active mesh peering between those gateways is really, really simple. It's done literally within minutes, and try doing that with firewalls deployed in both cloud environments and have them interconnected through an IPsec tunnel. I wish you good luck. That takes really a lot more time. And with a controller, you have single pane of glass, and no matter how big your cloud environment is. And just as long as the cloud and AWS regions are not too far apart, you really have a lot of bandwidth available and really low latency. There shouldn't be any problem for critical workloads that depending on low latency.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Mark. It's literally a couple clicks to build high throughput, low latency peerings between different regions or between different cloud providers. And it's just really blows my mind, because that was a difficult process to do in the past. And one thing I'll tell you, I'll give you a little bit of a preview. What we have actually coming is a new feature where we can build that active mesh peering not only over the internet, but also over private backbones or private peerings, whether it's a direct connect or express route, or if it's something provided to you by a third party, some private peering, we're going to be able to build the active mesh on top of that as well, right? That's different than what we're talking about here, because what we're talking about is building a standard IPsec and BGP connection over these private direct connect and express routes. But what I'm talking about is that we're going to bring the additional benefits of active mesh on top of private connections. That's coming very soon in a code, probably later this year.
I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, I'd like to take a look at what actually happens should the direct connect fail in this case. Let's say there's maintenance going on in the ground, some cables are being struck and our direct connect goes down. The controller immediately sees that the gateway in AWS cannot talk to the data center router anymore. Mm-hmm. So it's sending a message to the data center router, which it can also manage. Mm-hmm. The direct route to AWS is gone. So you have to use your secondary route now. That's also in your route table. Mm-hmm. So it's sending its traffic now to the transit gateway in Azure. And the Azure gateway, of course, has a direct link to the transit gateway in AWS. So the green line really represents the temporary failover scenario. So in turn, what the great effect of this solution is that you don't have to use redundant direct connect or redundant express route connections anymore. Just one of each is enough. And just as long as you take them from different cable vendors or network providers, that's perfect. Then you're also redundant in that from that perspective.
Yeah, Mark, this is brilliant. And the controller, the Aviatrix controller, is what's making this possible and so seamless. The Aviatrix controller is ingesting all these routes, all these different paths, and applying a path selection algorithm similar to what most networking professionals are used to seeing from IGPs on-prem or BGP on-prem, and injecting that intelligence into the cloud. So now you have the deterministic failover, you have the traffic engineering, you have the visibility, you have the path selection, all that dynamic nature now available for the cloud. We're injecting intelligence that wasn't there prior, now that's available for you to leverage to have this type of solution of failover. So really, really awesome that you've found this value.
Well, thanks. Yeah, and one thing I'd like to stress as well, of course, companies running in a public cloud really have to take a close look at their bill from time to time, or they have, even better, they have alerting tooling installed or automated mechanisms to reduce costs or shut services down. Mm-hmm. And from a cost perspective, this is also really interesting because you don't need two direct connect connections and two express route connections. You just need one of each. And that really can cut the monthly bill. And because the traffic between the clouds is also going directly, you don't have that much data crossing your direct connect or your express route connection.
Right.
That saves money as well.
Yep, very good points. That's very valid and an ask we get from our customers all the time. How can we save money by leveraging Aviatrix? And there's so many ways, right? This is one of many ways. So really great to hear that you've seen that as well.
A couple of additional advantages of this architecture is that let's say you want to add GCP or OCI cloud to this architecture. It's really simple to add it. Just deploy another transit VPC or expand a transit layer, and they're interconnected really quickly. And the controller offers a lot more tooling for network troubleshooting, the stuff you're used to from within the data center. There's less time managing the network because the controller automatically solves a lot of problems and does a lot of alerting and signaling.
Yeah, very good points, Mark. And it's a good thing to talk about here that when you leverage an Aviatrix control and data plane, naturally you get all the benefits of it. Even if you're using one component of the platform, naturally you get all the benefits, right? You get all the visibility. For example, these gateways will be able to export the traffic flow analytics now from using NetFlow v9 to our analytics engine, Copilot, which I talked about before. You'll get to see all that traffic flow data. You get to use it for security correlation. You can use it for network trending reports. You can use it for even for build back purposes, for example. Or you can leverage Copilot to build out your topologies dynamically and do alerting on performance and network latency threshold performance testing. All that stuff is built into Copilot. So you get a lot of that just naturally when you leverage Aviatrix as a part of your data plane and your control plane. So I totally agree. On top of that, we have some visibility that you definitely leverage for a solution like this. And I'm talking about routing visibility. More recently, we've added BGP and global routing table visibility and search functionality into Copilot. So if you need a unified place to look for routing across your cloud infrastructure and to on-prem, you have one place now that aggregates all that routing information. It makes it easy for you to search through and figure out, why am I taking a certain route? What routes are active? What routes are passive? What BGP peerings are up or down? All that information is now presented to you in a single pane of glass.
And on top of that, you also have, of course, the route approval in the transit gateway configuration through the controller.
Yeah.
Let's say a network administrator in the data center is a bit overactive and adds a BGP route, which is being communicated to the transit gateways. There is a function within the controller that you first have to manually approve such an additional route. So that's one mechanism to avoid typos or some over ambitious network administrators who would like to add some additional routes.
Yeah, good point. Our customers absolutely love that feature, the route approval feature, because it saved them countless outages. Prior to that feature being available, there was really no way to control from the perspective of the cloud what routes were learned and propagated and leveraged. And so it was not uncommon to hear customers having an outage because an accidental default route was sent to the cloud, or a more specific route was sent to the cloud, or maybe an even overlapping CIDR was sent to the cloud, causing full-blown outages. And now that's a thing of the past with Aviatrix because you have full control over filtering what's learned from what peer, from what neighbor. And so we see people using this to connections to on-prem or even connections to partners where they don't have a control over what's being sent to them. Definitely a really good call out. Mark, this has been a fantastic conversation. I love when our partners and our customers leverage the power of the Aviatrix platform to do all sorts of cool things like this multi-cloud access failover scenario. And I just want to thank you so much for being here with me.
Well, thank you too. I really love using Aviatrix solutions to run on top of the native cloud service, but still bring those services to a higher level. And in the end, that's what our customers can really take advantage of.
Exactly. Well, I look forward to your next white paper that we can cover on this call. And for anybody that's watching, I'm going to add a link to Mark's white paper in the comment section of this video. So please check it out and reach out to Mark if you have any questions about it or anything to do with Aviatrix, or reach out to us, the solutions architects and the SEs at Aviatrix. We're always available to help you. And just thank you so much, Mark, again. Look forward to the next time.
It's been fun. See you next time.
Take care.